See, today's topic is on IMF and World Bank. If you see the trend of questions asked from this topic, last year, that is in 2016, they have asked 3 questions from this. Last year itself, 3 questions are there. All are simple and direct question. But if you see the, that is in 2016, we'll see it. In 15, they asked 1 question, and in 2014, 1 question. This is a trend of this topic, and if you see the 14, 15 and 16 question, it's of same pattern. Questions are from same area and from same pattern. So you can expect other question also, but normally IMF and World Bank is a favorite area of UPSC, both for your prelims and mains. So keep this in mind. The external sector, other 3 modules which I have discussed, that is module 1, module 2 and module 3. All are important both for your prelims only. All the 3 modules are important mainly for your prelims, not for mains. Now, mains, it is important because if a mains question is being asked, to address the concept, you need to know it. Otherwise, they will not, they will not ask directly from that module, module 1, 2 and 3. For example, in 2015, there was a mains question related with gold monetization scheme. The question was about gold monetization scheme, but the half of the part of the question was about how it will affect the external balance of the country and related BOP thing. So such type of question for you to answer, you need to know what is balance of payment and how gold imports affect our current account deficit and in general our balance of payment position. So like that. Now the area which I am going to discuss today, that is in relation to IMF and World Bank. Keep this in mind from your mains point of view. From the mains point of view, its question will not be from GS3. See, don't think that okay, economy is only in GS3. Economic question you can expect in GS2 also. So in GS2, there is a module. There is a module which talks about international institutions. Have you seen that? There is a module in GS2. There is a module which deals with international institutions. And if you see the trend of international institutions, in almost every year, they are asking one question from, they are asking question from international economic institution. They are asking question on international economic institution. For example, in 2013, they asked a question on IMF and World Bank. In 2015, they asked a question on New Development Bank and Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. I'm talking about GS2, not GS3. And in 2016, they asked question on WTO, World Trade Organization. So same thing you can expect in relation to your 2017 main also. So keep that in mind, that the topic which I'll be discussing under the external sector, for example, the coming topics like all the topics which you will be discussing now onwards is important for your prelims as well as mains. That is module 4. Next we'll be dealing with module 5 about foreign investment. It's important for your prelims, and then you can expect a question related with foreign investment or FDI related question for your mains also. Then we'll be dealing with World Trade Organization. Then we'll be dealing with trade agreements. So everything is important from your prelims and mains. So what you need to do is after prelims, after June 18th, certain material you can keep it away. But this material which you will be getting today, that is on module 4 of IMF and World Bank, is important for your mains. So that I'll discuss later on, but just keep it that this material you require after prelims also. Now come back regarding this topic on IMF and World Bank. Okay, now so keep this in mind. If it is a GS mains question, the question will be asked not in GS3, it will be in GS2. Now you need to have a background about this institution. We need to go back to 1940s, especially during the Second World War, to understand why this organization was set up and what is its purpose and presently what it is doing. Okay, now try to understand that after the Second World War, or during the end period of the Second World War. Okay, when the world global powers they realized that okay, after the war, there need to be certain institutions, international institutions, which take care of certain functions. For example, it decided that, okay, we require an institution like an institution which take care of the international monetary system. It is a very important point. They decided that they want an institution, an international institution or international organization which take care of what? Take care of international monetary system. Go back to our money and banking class. In money and banking, we discussed about monetary system or monetary function. It is performed by the Reserve Bank of, say in India, it is performed by Reserve Bank. Now when we talk about the monetary function of Reserve Bank, it has lot of functions. And one of that function related with the Reserve Bank is inflation control. And then we talk about that our Reserve Bank will make policy which will ensure economic growth of the nation. Now when it comes to, so that is basically in relation to, I told you, and one more function of Reserve Bank is in relation to exchange rate stability. But for Reserve Bank, the most important function is in relation to inflation control. And similarly, Reserve Bank is in charge of the payment settlement system. Reserve Bank have to ensure that when transaction happens within the country or from the outside also, it need to ensure that the transaction is settled properly. So a lot of monetary function is performed by the Reserve Bank. Now when we talk about the world, means globally, when we talk about an organization which deals with international monetary system, from the global perspective, try to understand that its major objective, for if there is any international institution and if it has been given the function to ensure or to promote international stability in the international monetary system, that main function will be in relation to, for example, take the case of two countries A and B. We are talking about globally. Trade is happening between these two countries, A and B. So in the case of A and B, A will be an exporter, B will be an importer, and once a commodity or services is exported or other country imports, what will happen is it need to make payment. Yes or no? It need to make payment. And this payment has to be in, since it is an external topic, payment has to be in foreign currency. So there need to be a system in which the payment happens and it is settled properly. Along with that, the currency which they transact, the globally recognized currency which they transact, the value of that currency has to be stable. Yes or no? If it becomes unstable, then there will be a problem. So one of the major functions of this international monetary system is that to ensure stability in those currencies where it is globally accepted. So basically it will be hard currency. At the same time, the exchange rate regime, which is globally in exchange rate regime, again it has to promote a better exchange rate regime. What is that better exchange rate regime? Free float exchange rate regime. What is that free float exchange rate regime? Where the market determines the exchange rate, not by direct intervention. Okay, so for this function to taken care of, to promote the smooth transaction of international monetary functioning, in 1944, that is, I told you, Second World War is not over. Second World War got over in 1945 only. So, but the end of the World War, at a place called Bretton Woods, all the global leaders met, major global leaders met and decided to create two very important institutions, which one will take care of this promoting international monetary system, and the other one will take care of the development aspect. So this is what is called as, since these two institutions were born together in the same place what is called as Bretton Woods in USA, they are called as Bretton Woods twins. IMF and World Bank is also called as Bretton Woods twins. Actually, it was not twins, it was a triplet. But the third one died early. Not died early, The third one did have a full maturity like these two institutions. So that whenever we talk about Bretton Woods, the third one is not here now because it's not alive. Second is that it didn't have the important responsibility like what IMF and World Bank is having. The third one was GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, which is the predecessor of World Trade Organization. Regarding GATT and WTO, we'll discuss in the next coming classes. But just have an idea, after this conference, all the three came into picture. But there was a basic difference between IMF, World Bank and GATT. Now what is this GATT about? It is an agreement. GATT is an agreement only, not an institution. GATT is not an institution or not an international organization. IMF and World Bank is an organization or an institution. But GATT is simply an agreement to promote trade. Okay, and it died when WTO was born. WTO was born in January 1995. So leave that, that's not important for you, but just have an idea. UPSC have already asked a question that in this place in Bretton Woods, these three were there. But the prominent were IMF and World Bank. Now as the term suggests, we'll go by, just have an idea. So these were born together. These were born together at the same place. A place called as Bretton Woods. And see, actually there was a conference which held in Bretton Woods, and after this conference only, the people who participated in the conference decided to come up with this international institutions. Okay. Now when you talk about IMF, see, regarding IMF, it is very clear. One, it is international. I means international. M is monetary, and basically it says that it's a fund. So IMF is a fund, even though it's called as a fund. In short, if somebody talk about fund, try to understand that it's talking about IMF. In global organization, when you hear the term fund, it is basically IMF only. Okay. Now the IMF have, see, in our earlier classes, we discussed IMF as an organization with a function, what is called as when in relation to BOP crisis only. We talked about IMF. IMF will come into picture when a country is in BOP crisis. When a country is in BOP crisis. What does it mean? When a country is having problem in relation to making payment in foreign currency. Okay. So whenever a country is having, so that is one of the function. But see, don't think that IMF is having only one function. IMF has other functions too, because it need to promote an orderly international monetary system. Okay, for that it have been given a responsibility to ensure that the stable, the globally accepted currencies, mainly what it is called as freely usable currencies, this is the word used by IMF, freely usable currencies, where are having a stable exchange rate value. So it monitors. So as a global organization, it used to surveil. Surveillance is one of the functions performed by the IMF in relation to its member countries. It will go look into all the major macroeconomic indicators of an economy, especially in relation to, it will look into the global growth of an economy. It will look into the external sector balance, mainly the current account deficit. It will look into the fiscal deficit. It will look into the financial market of an economy, mainly the capital market and money market, and etc. And every year it comes up with major reports. And those reports are very important for you, because in these reports only, it talks about what is the situation of the global economy. And what is the situation of individual countries, and which country is helping the global economy, and which countries or which group of countries are dragging the global economy. Now when it says that, okay, in report it says that China, India is promoting the global economy because they are the now major economic growth engine of the world. Since India and China is growing at a higher rate, the global economic growth is better. If China also slows down or China and India slows down, then there is no other major economy who is growing at a higher rate, then the global growth will come down and that will have a lot of problems. So just try to have an idea, this IMF play a major role in ensuring that not only in relation to giving loans when a country is in BOP crisis, but it has other functions to perform. This is one of the functions, BOP crisis dealing is one of the functions. So keep this in mind. So IMF is major function is to promote international monetary system. Okay, now in relation to IMF, now keep this in mind regarding IMF, that it has certain features. IMF have certain features. We already discussed regarding IMF that it gives loan. IMF gives loan to its member country through its own unit of account. IMF have its own unit of account which it created in 1969. What it is called as special drawing rights. We discussed in the last class. Special drawing rights. Okay. Now regarding IMF, the major resource, financial resource. The major financial resource of IMF is through the quota or the contribution provided by the member countries. Now try to understand that only member countries can, so the major financial resource of IMF is from its member countries' contribution. We call it as quota. Every country will be having a quota. We will discuss IMF quota in detail after discussing IMF and World Bank, because IMF quota is a very important current affair for your this year prelims. So we will discuss in detail regarding IMF quota. Okay, but for time being, you understand that the major financial resources for IMF is through the quota or the contribution given by its member countries. And one of the features of IMF is that IMF will assist or give loan only to member countries. So these two are very key word. One, IMF take contribution only from the member countries, mainly from the contribution. The IMF quota is from its member countries, and IMF provide loan only to its member countries. It will not. So presently there are 189 members. It's a fact, not that much important, but have an idea, it's in 180s. Member countries are in 180s. The present IMF strength is, even if it become 190 or 191, it's not important for us, but just have an idea. They will not ask you how many members IMF is asking. Means it's there. Okay, now come back. So this is a very, already UPSC asked a question. IMF give loans to whom? IMF will give loan only to its member countries. Okay, now in relation to when we talk about this, now just have an idea how there is a general criticism regarding IMF. There is a general criticism regarding IMF in the sense that IMF is unlike other institutions or unlike World Bank. It's not an aid giving agency. It's not an aid agency. IMF is not an aid agency. World Bank is an aid agency. Okay, World Health Organization or majority of the UN organizations are aid giving agency. Now, in the sense that IMF, even though IMF perform lot of function, the major function it is in relation to assisting its member country when that country is having BOP problem or BOP crisis. Now don't think that okay, if you are in a if a member country is in BOP crisis, IMF will jump and give them loan. No, IMF will not give you loan. So what IMF will do is, when a member country is facing BOP problem, what do you mean by BOP problem? When that currency is having shortage of foreign currency. So if a country is having shortage of foreign currency, what will happen? It can't make payment for trade or import. See, if you want to import, you need to make payment in foreign currency. So a country can't import if it is not having sufficient forex reserve. We call it very important term, what is called as import cover. That was his 2016 prelims question also. Okay, so when a country is in BOP crisis, try to understand that IMF will need to ensure that, okay, whenever IMF give loan, it need to ensure that this money which IMF gives to a member country will be paid back. Okay, it's like a, so more than anything, it's like a bank. Bank will not see to your any other thing, no personal relation. It will only say that, okay, I am giving you loan, but ensure that you pay me back. So before giving loan, what IMF do is, IMF will find out the reason for a member country to have what is the reason for its BOP crisis. Try to understand that. So before giving loan, IMF will make a study about why this member country failed or why there is a crisis in its BOP. Now after finding it out, it will suggest the member country to bring reforms. IMF will ask its member country to bring about reforms. Now once these reforms are accepted by a member country, then only IMF provides loan. We call this term as conditionalities. Conditions. IMF inform its member who is having crisis to implement the reforms suggested by IMF, then only I will give you loan. So these conditionalities have always been a criticism against IMF. In some of the countries, IMF, where it has given loan with conditions, that country have come up or come out of it. For example, countries like South Korea. We know that we already discussed also, but just relating it with IMF, the role IMF played in relation to South Korea. In 1997, during the East Asian crisis, when there is foreign outflow, South Korea is a full convertibility country. Link all the concepts which you have learned. So since South Korea is a fully convertible country, there is no restriction in relation to foreign outflow. When there is huge foreign outflow, what do you mean by foreign outflow? Outflow of foreign currency. The forex reserve will deplete and that country will be having a problem of BOP crisis. So that time IMF came and helped South Korea, but again South Korea accepted the conditionalities. So South Korea came out of it. Now it's one of the major growing and comparatively a better country. Similarly, in relation to countries like Argentina, that country is still having a problem. Now take the case of India, the role, the IMF assistance and what happened in relation to India. In case of India, try to understand that now the very interesting fact, everybody knows that economic reforms, new economic policy, economic reforms and all these things. Do you think that these reforms were taken by the government? Yeah. It is obviously it has to be taken by the government, but it was a part of the conditions. It was a condition given by IMF to get its loan. Now IMF said, okay, so try to understand that what IMF, when a member country, when IMF assists a member country, try to understand how it happens if a country is in BOP crisis. Now imagine the case of in 91, when India was having BOP crisis. When India was having BOP crisis, we were facing with a lot of problems. The inflation rate in 1991 was very high. Inflation was very high. Inflation is very high. Then fiscal deficit is very high. Current account deficit is very high. Economic growth is low. So every macroeconomic indicators is in a very poor shape. So before IMF giving loan, what it has suggested to the government is that bring reforms. So it suggested first thing is that what is called as stabilization program. It suggested a program what is called as stabilization program. What do you mean by stabilization? A program which will be taken by the government to stabilize its macroeconomic indicators like fiscal deficit. So as part of the stabilization program, it has given a time for India to bring about stabilization program in all the major indicators. Now after the Indian economy stabilized, it has recommended what is called as, very important, what is called as structural adjustment policies, SAP, structural adjustment programs or policies. So structural adjustment policies or programs are suggested by IMF as part of giving loan. As part of the structural adjustment policy, IMF asked Indian government to bring about reforms in all the structure. For example, it suggested bringing reform in the banking sector. It suggested bringing reforms in the financial sector. It suggested reforms in the external sector. We opened our economy. They suggested reforms in the industrial sector. We came with industrial policies. So all the major structures, economic structure, where IMF suggests to bring about reforms so that the economy will grow, the export will increase. Along with economic growth, other indicators also been taken care of, and in few years, and within almost nearly 2 years, a country which were having BOP problem were having sufficient forex reserve. So India is a example of where IMF aid or conditions helped to overcome its crisis and become now we have one of the fastest growing major economy. Now just have an idea. So there are some countries, like now you see Greece, presently IMF is providing giving loan to countries like Greece. Now you see Greece is not in a position to pay back. Now regarding one of the criticism against Greece is that, not IMF is that, in relation to Greece is that IMF have gone beyond its, since Greece is from Europe and IMF, there is a closeness between relation between Europe and IMF, that it, unlike other member countries, in relation to Greece and Eurozone countries where it was in crisis, IMF have given more, or IMF have didn't followed its conditionalities like what it has done in relation to mainly Asian countries. So there was a criticism regarding IMF a package given to European countries, especially in relation to Greece. So there are criticism in relation to IMF. So you can take a balance in relation to. Then other criticism regarding IMF is that it's not only about that criticism is not only about IMF. It is a criticism to World Bank also. Now try to understand that even though the IMF is having 189 members, all members are not having equal power. They are not having equal voting power. There is certain countries, especially countries like US and Western European countries, have more influence and power. Especially I told you that in relation to IMF, if it's like this, all the major decisions in IMF are taken by 85% of the voting power. If any decision to be made in IMF, it needs acceptance of 85% of vote. And I told you every member is not having same vote. Certain member is having higher percentage of vote. And if you see US is having a voting power of 15% and above. US is having a voting power of 15% and above. So what does it mean? It means that US alone can stop any major decisions. If US is not supporting any decision of IMF, then that decision can't be implemented. And then is another criticism about IMF is that IMF have given more weightage to countries like from Europe and US, which were a major economy during 1940s and 50s. But in the present 21st century, the present decade, where the emerging market economics like India, China, Brazil, Russia have not got proper representation or proper weightage in relation to IMF. So there are a pressure from these emerging market economies to bring about reforms in IMF so that their weightage, their present size is being properly presented in IMF. So regarding that I'll discuss. So regarding this reforms in IMF I'll discuss when I'll discuss IMF quota, after discussing IMF and World Bank. So keep this in mind. So there are general criticism against IMF functioning, but now also try to understand that especially the unit of account, Try to understand that IMF have created a reserve currency, what is called as special drawing rights. Now try to understand that regarding special drawing rights, SDR is not a currency. SDR is not a currency, rather it is a reserve currency, and it is a right. It is a right. If you have SDR, you can use that SDR to purchase freely usable currency. Freely usable currency. Okay. Now, so if actually SDR is the unit of account. It's a, so IMF deals everything. The account will be if you see the IMF balance sheet or IMF account, it will be, everything will be mentioned in SDR, and you know that one SDR is having a value, and you can convert it. Then you will know that what is the present position of financial position of IMF. SDR is the unit of account for IMF and other certain international institutions in relation to which get assistance or which work together with IMF. So just have a broad idea about IMF. One is regarding its setup. One is regarding its setup, when it was set up. Then regarding its loan facilities, regarding its financial resources, regarding its conditionalities, regarding its surveillance. Regarding its surveillance. Now from regarding surveillance, only 2 questions have been asked recently. I told you, this is a very important thing, that regarding IMF surveillance, IMF, what it does, it looks into the global prospects. What is the global prospects in relation to the growth? How the economy is growing? IMF will study about it. So if you might have noticed it, you might have seen in the article, IMF saying that Indian economy is growing to, in the coming financial year, IMF means India will grow at this percentage. China will grow at this percentage. So this it perform, or it releases through a very important report, what it is called as World Economic Outlook. Every year IMF releases a very important report, what is called as World Economic Outlook. In this, see, as the term suggests, just see it, World Economic Outlook. So what will be the world economic outlook or the growth prospects of the world, especially its member countries, will be projected or will be mentioned in this report, and a detailed analysis of each country's growth prospects will be mentioned there in its World Economic Outlook. Then, so regarding the global prospects, it releases a report, World Economic Outlook. Then regarding global, there is another report called Global Financial Stability Report. Global Financial Stability Report, where it looks into the financial markets of the entire world. Global Financial Stability Report. IMF look into the financial markets of every part of the world, and it discuss about what is the problem in each and every member's financial market. So in relation to financial market, it releases a report, what is called as Global Financial Stability Report. And then regarding the every member's public finance, that is government budget, its fiscal deficit, its revenue deficit, its borrowing program, whether it is viable or not, will be released in a report, what is called as Fiscal Monitor. It's very easy. You know what is fiscal? It's fiscal policy. So Fiscal Monitor deals with the public finance. Global Financial Stability Report deals with the financial market. World Economic Outlook deals with global economic prospects, not the growth prospects, global prospects. Don't confuse with that term. So these are the 3 major reports of IMF, and out of this 3 report, already 2 reports have been asked by UPSC in the last few years. That is, they have asked question from World Economic Outlook, they asked question from Global Financial Stability Report. Now one is left. What is that? Fiscal Monitor. It is there in the material. Now just see and answer those 2 questions on World Economic. It's a very simple and direct question. Question number 3. Question number 3. Which year it asked? 2016. 2016. Question number 5. So in 2014 they have asked a question. In 2016 also they have asked a question. Okay. Now regarding the see in the page number 1, in page number 1, fourth para, there is a topic called as surveillance. There all the 3 reports are mentioned. Have you seen that? So write it important there. From there itself UPSC have asked 2 questions. Now page number 1, have you seen? Surveillance, page number 1, fourth para. Page number 1, fourth para. So that all the 3 reports are mentioned there. Now try to understand that IMF provides mainly 3 types of loan. IMF provides mainly 3 types of loan. One is this, the normal loan which it gives when a country is in BOP crisis. That is, that term is for 12 to 18 months. 12 to 18 months to rectify that problem of BOP crisis, mainly for stabilization program. We call it as stand-up facility. Then once a country stabilizes, then it will give an extended loan for a tenure of somewhere around 4 to 5 years. So these are the 2 loans provided by IMF to its member countries. Along with that, it also provides a facility what is called as poverty and growth facilitation. Poverty and PGF. What is that? Poverty reduction and growth facility. This is another facility, loan facility, poverty reduction and growth facility. See, as the term, it's a loan facility. It's a loan facility provided by the IMF to its poorest member countries. So other 2 it provides to anyone, both the developed and developing countries, that is stand-up facility and extended facility. But poverty reduction, see, do you think that a developed country will require a poverty reduction facility? No. So a poorest member country require this facility, that is poverty reduction and growth facility. So these are the 3 loan facilities given by IMF. Now be very clear with that. Okay. Now actually when we talk about World Bank, World Bank is considered as a bank to wipe out poverty, okay, and to bring about development. Now don't get confused with this poverty reduction and growth facility and World Bank. UPSC have already asked a question. Be very clear with it. Poverty reduction and growth facility is a facility of IMF to its poorest member countries, not by World Bank, Now in 2016, see, one of the question, I told you 3 questions were asked from IMF and World Bank. 2 questions were very easy. That was on 2 reports, one on IMF report and one was World Bank report. But 3rd question was regarding the governance structure of IMF. 3rd question was in relation to the governance structure of IMF. So you take your material, page number 2, in that figure, not page number 2, page number 4, that figure is sufficient to understand the governance structure of IMF. From here only they asked a question. Have you seen a figure? Page number 3 or 4? Page number 2, okay. In page number 2, have you seen a figure? So in that figure, in short, you will understand the governance structure of IMF in the sense that the top one, that is Board of Governors. Board of Governors is the highest decision making body of IMF. Now from that figure itself it is clear. It's there in the top, Board of Governors. Then Board of Governors have delegated certain functions or major functions to its executive board, where executive board will meet regularly and take decisions. And then this executive board is headed by the managing director and the other board members. Okay, so this is the basic structure. Board of Governor, Below that executive board and executive board, see, try to understand that this executive board will be having 24 executive directors, 24 executive directors. Now how this, it's not that important, but just have an idea, since a question I have been asked from this area, that all the 189 countries are represented in this executive board, but executive board have only 24 members. So it means that there are, for few countries, there will be a common member. So countries are divided into constituencies. So in the case of India, Nepal, Bangladesh are put under one constituency, and then to that constituency one member will be represented. Countries like US, the top 5 quota countries is having separate individual executive directors, and for others it is through constituency. Just have an idea. Similarly, so there are 24, that number is very important, 24 executive board members will be there. They will be taking major decision, means even though board of governors is the highest decision making body, it has delegated all the major executive functions to its executive board, and they in turn carry on the day-to-day business of IMF. Now to help or to assist or to advise the board of governors, which is a highest decision making body, there are 2 committees, what is called as IMFC, International Monetary and Financial Committee, and Development Committee. So to advise the board of governors, there are 2 committees. One is IMFC and other is Development Committee. IMFC is International Monetary and Financial Committee. Okay, and this committee advises in relation to the major monetary and financial problems in relation to the global economy. Okay, so basically all the 24, this committee also consisted of 24 members like the executive board. So in general, this also having representation of all the member countries in the International Monetary and Financial Committee, and this committee in a year meet twice, and while in this meeting, twice in a year, in this meeting, all the major international institutions will be, especially in relation to monetary and financial functions, they will be there as an observer, including World Bank. So this was the question they asked from IMFC last year. Last year they asked, 2016 they asked a question related with IMFC, where 2 statement questions were there. Just have an idea. So that's why I'm discussing in detail, since a question have been asked from IMFC, and that too from this area. Just have an idea about this governance structure of IMF. Now regarding the developmental committee, it's a joint committee. Developmental committee is a joint committee of where IMF and World Bank governors will be there. And as the term suggests, basically this committee suggests in relation to developmental, how global development or economic development throughout the globe can be achieved. So will be discussed while IMFC will be meeting in the annual meeting. So normally 2 times annually they meet, especially during springtime. It's not that important in relation to, so since a question has been asked from IMFC, you can expect a question from Development Committee also. Now I will tell you the trick about what UPSC have done. All the questions related with IMF, all the questions related with World Bank, UPSC have asked from their official website only. Similarly in the case of World Trade Organization also. Now don't go to website and read the material, because that is there in front of you. What you are having, what the IMF, the main material is from the website only, and then what is not there in the website, that is regarding the current affair part, that I have taken from the newspaper and given to you. So that's why in the last year material, IMFC was just a 1 para material. Since UPSC asked a question last year, I made it a 1-page material, because I feel that now there is a chance that a question may come from that area. So read it properly regarding the governance structure, regarding that figure, and regarding Development Committee also. And question will be very easy. You can easily answer it if you have gone through it. They will not complicate things. And be very careful. Be very, have an idea, this is very important, okay. When UPSC make a statement wrong, at this point of time, I hope that you have learned this idea that a very important fact or very important concept only they will make it wrong. And it will be easy for a student who have studied that topic to find out this is a wrong statement. That's the another trick you have to apply, that when you read the statement and when you feel that this statement is not showing any abnormality, it has to be a correct statement. Learn it. If you apply this trick for 10 questions, 7 will be correct if you learn it properly. You read the question, apply the trick, it will work. But see, if it is a wrong statement, they will make that statement wrong with a very vital information. And when you see it, you get to know that, okay, that's a very, what UPSC is doing, I know that this is wrong. You'll get the answer. So don't see that, okay, I'm not sure about this statement. I'm not, sometimes this logic of reading, see, now you have gone through IMF, will be going through World Bank. Now if a question on IMF and World Bank they are asking, and you are not confident about a statement, but you are not confident about that it is wrong, or you feel that this is correct, you feel your inner conscience will work out for you, provided that strategy is working in your Sunday test. See that whether it is working in your Sunday test, then you can go for it, it will be correct only. Anyway, come back. So regarding this IMFC, be very clear with it. So they already UPSC have asked a question from IMFC. Similarly, this is the case with almost all the international organizations question. Whether it is environmental organization, all the, it's UPSC is asking question from their official website only, not from any other textbook. So we know that, so your material is that only. So don't worry now, don't waste your time going all the websites and wasting time. Okay, it's there, the material is prepared accordingly only. Okay, so just please try to solve that question on IMFC 2016 first question. First question of your module. First statement is correct. Second statement is also correct. World Bank participates. Not only World Bank, other members also. But in the website, they only talks about World Bank. They say that World Bank and other institutions. So for us, World Bank is sufficient. Now, question number 6. Question number 6 regarding 2011 question. Question number 6 regarding the IMF. Which one of the following statement is correct? So be very careful, okay. It grant loans to only. So don't go by, see here only is correct. Okay, here only is correct. So if you see, actually see, again it's a very vital information, very core point of IMF. Okay, so don't always go by, now if you see the first statement, it can grant loans to any country. Any is also a keyword, any country. It can grant loans to only developed country. Then it can grant loans to only member country, and it can grant loans to the central bank of a country. So if we follow the trick only, means if you don't, then you might go for D. Don't do it. That's why I'm telling that not every time this will not work out. Only thing is that, but for core concepts, if you see this word, you can be go thorough with that. Okay. So it's a very important information. IMF provide loan only to member country. Now there is a question again regarding this poverty reduction and growth facility. Question number 10. (2005) question. Poverty reduction and growth facility has been established by the International Development Association. Is it correct? No. Whom it has established? It is IMF. So that's wrong. If it was IMF instead of IDA, it has been a correct statement. Now try to understand regarding IDA, we'll discuss while discussing World Bank. So IDA, it's very important for you, we'll discuss it. Already question have been asked from IDA. What is that IDA? We'll discuss. Now regarding the second statement. Now because of this question, learn that it's a correct statement. It's a correct statement, learn it. Since UPSC have asked this question, have an idea. Singapore Regional Training Institute is one of the institute that provides training in macroeconomic analysis and policy and related subjects as part of a program of the IMF Institute. So it's correct statement only. So learn from this question. First statement is wrong because of IMF, instead of IMF they have put IDA. Okay. Now another very important factual but very important information, that IMF is a specialized agency of UN, United Nations. IMF is a specialized agency. It's an agency, it's a part of UN. It's an agency of, specialized agency of UN. Similarly, World Bank also. Similarly, World Bank is also a specialized agency of UN. But WTO is not an organ of UN. Be very clear with it. I'll discuss again there. Try to, for your time being, understand that IMF and World Bank are part of United Nations. They are specialized agencies of UN.